I'm going to introduce you to a woman who is an absolute enchantress. Tonight, it is my turn to bring you part 4 of our week-long Profiles series. I'd like to introduce you to a very special lady who lives and works here in Southern California, Eulalie Banks. She's been an illustrator of children's books for 70 years. She's British, she's 84 years old, she still works full-time and loves it, and she has more energy than most people you and I know. You might not recognize her, but chances are good you've seen her work. Whimsical, colorful, happy little creatures that come pouring out of Eulalie Banks' imagination. What triggers your imagination to come up with these characters and these animals and these little people?
I don't know, really. I suppose it was because I was very a lone child. All my brothers, I was 5 years younger than my next brother.
Eulalie was born near London. She remembers drawing on little scraps of paper when she was still in her high chair. That was before she could even talk. When she was old enough to talk, she asked her father if she could take art lessons.
I was the baby in the family, and all my brothers and sisters had to do, he says, you're going to do this, and you're going to do that, and you're going to study the violin, and you're going to study this. And I said, do you think I could study art? Little children should be seen and not heard. So that was the end of that. I didn't study.
So, with no formal training but a lot of determination, she became a professional artist before she even hit her teens.
At 12 years old, I started making money, only privately with all my friends. They said, oh, would you do Christmas cards for me? So I did dozens of Christmas. I think I did about 12 dozen Christmas cards. And in those days, of course, that was a long time ago, and to me it was a lot of money. I got 1 6 a dozen for them. That's like 30 cents. And to me, that was gorgeous.
Once she went public, there was no stopping her. And it wasn't just her friends buying her work. She recalls one day when Her Royal Highness Queen Mary caught a glimpse of some of her greeting cards.
And the Queen, you know, put her glasses, is this an English gal? She said, yes, she was born in England. She's an American citizen now. Oh, well, I'd like to have some of these. And Duchess of Kent said, I'd love her to have an order of all these cards.
From royalty to the poorest little street urchin, for 70 years, generation after generation has grown up with Eulalie's creations. Eulalie's trademark is a little mouse. She actually copied him from a real mouse that came scampering by one day when she was hard at work.
This dear little mouse was sitting on the fender. He was looking at me. I said, hello, darling. He was twiddling his whiskers and cleaning his tail, and he sat there, and I sketched him. And after I'd finished, he flipped off, and off he went. And I said, you know, when I grow up, if ever I become an artist, I'm going to use you as my trademark. This is my latest Mother Goose. It's very poorly printed. See, I've got him there.
Mm-hmm.
And in most of my books, there's a mouse. And people come and say, oh, you do Mickey Mouse, too. And I said, no, it's my mouse. I was doing that mouse before Disney was out of diapers.
Eulalie has not only survived professional competition, she's lived through the horrible air raids of both world wars in England.
The bombing was so terrible, and I had been bombed from here to there, and it was amazing that I missed them. I've been covered with glass and dirt and plaster and stuff, but I still lived, and I thought, well, I've got to live for a purpose anyway.
She says her purpose is to keep spreading happiness, and she fights to serve that purpose. One of her biggest battles was with the Los Angeles School Board years ago when it wanted to ban fairy tales.
It's a lot of nonsense. We're going to cut out all fairy stories. We're not going to have this drivel. I said, you cut out fairy stories for children, and I said, you're going to turn them into little heathens. I said, please, you're going to take the soul out of them, you're going to take the beauty out and the whimsy out of their lives. They're going to get so tough. Please don't do that. They took all those fairy stories away for quite a few years. But the children still went down to my library and still loved the walls there. And the librarian told me they still loved the old stories and the fairy stories. They always will, won't they, Kelly?
Of course they will, Eulalie. Eulalie has survived wars, depressions, recessions. She's been ripped off by agents who stole from her, but she's still an optimist. After 70 years, she's still painting happiness, joy, and good times.
I've been broke many times. Artists always are, but I've been down to rock bottom so many times. And when I get down to my last nickel, I usually flip it and think, I'll give it to the first poor soul I see, and it will always come back, and it always has. Everything has been like a miracle for me.
I must tell you, my crew and I absolutely fell in love with Eulalie. When we go over to her studio to tape, she was more interested in feeding all of us than in being on television. She asked more questions, I think, about each of us than I could get to ask about her. She loves people, she has great fun with her work, and she has an enormous zest for life. Eulalie Banks, Southern California, is very lucky to have her. John.
Go along with that. 84 years young, and what an outlook. If we live that long and have that kind of outlook, that successful at creating, we'll really be good off.